Good day, good day, good day. And thank you all for joining me again on All for Success. Please bear with me as I struggle through all of the numerous technical issues and recall that that's what it's like sometimes out here in these YouTube streets. So, thank you all for having a little bit of patience with me. I'm running a little late today. But that being said, we are still going to be here to support all things family success. Okay, because we're here to support the wonderful things that the Sussex family is doing. That would be Harry and Meghan, of course, and then our wonderful little ones, Archie and Lilibet, who are not so little anymore. And then, of course, from my perspective, I think, and from their perspective, possibly, Mama Doria. I always like to point out that my point of view is that of a mother of adult children, which would be very similar to possibly how Mama Doria is looking at her potentiality or her position in this dynamic that is going on with all things in the Sussex world. So, with that being said, as always, we would like for everyone to be invited to participate in any type of fitness activity or fitness challenges. I am hoping that each of you are out there doing something, whether it's walking or light running, or if you are a person who goes to the gym, or if you're in any type of classes to include yoga, things like that. Please leave a comment. I keep begging for these comments, people. Come on. So please leave a comment as to how your fitness journey is going. I'm just actually going to put in here for myself that I attended the gym twice this week, right? And I have been walking every day. Uh, each day I probably walk approximately maybe around up to a mile, maybe I'll say that. How about maybe 1 mile? Let's not go too far. So I want each of you to put in the comments how your fitness journey is coming along and let us know, if you're doing some things that are maybe very unique, because I think it's great that we can all support each other in moving in that realm. So that would be a good thing. So if I actually have a few slides maybe to look at today, not too much. I don't want to keep us very, very long. And that is because, as you know, I came in late today. And so I know that there's some other masterful YouTubers that are getting into the details of many of the things that have transpired over the week, especially related to or subjects about different news stories that are moving through the media about the Sussex family. I want to keep our attention on several things, even though I'm going to look at it from a different perspective. But some things that are running through the media is, of course, the Byline media articles and the Byline investigates, and where they are is they have been discussing the number of people that have been involved in or around Meghan and Harry when they were first married. The Byline articles are featuring stories and perhaps a little bit of insight, as they have listed it, based on people who are unfortunately at this time anonymous. But they're giving some of their they are giving some of their, I don't want to call it testimony, but they're telling their story about what was happening in and around Harry and Meghan in the early years of their marriage while they were a part of Kensington Palace's staff. So there are three very, very important characters, and I've pointed them out. We looked at them a little bit last week, and that was the gentleman named Jason Knopf. There's another gentleman who is currently now actually a prime minister, or not a prime minister, but he has a very high government position, and he is the person who was responsible for some of the COVID response. And I believe his name is Christian Johnson. So there are many YouTubers that are out there, and they are, oh my goodness, they are detective level um, information gatherers of the details of some of these people as they were working in and around Harry and Meghan. Um, the one of the key points in the significant articles is the fact that the letter, there was a time when Meghan was encouraged to write a letter to her father. And it was at the time when she was basically asking her father to stop talking to the press, stop giving these interviews, stop showing up on television saying these things about her as if she was a problem for Prince Harry, because when you look at it, again, I'm a mom, right? Looking at adult children, you're looking at a situation where you had a husband and wife that were divorced or separated for whatever reason you can only imagine. And then the children of the divorced couple are moving on through their adult life. And then one or the other spouse is actively doing things to interfere with the day-to-day life of their child. You have to ask yourself, especially again as a parent. I'm not even talking about this from the romantic perspective, but just on the surface level. When you're looking at this from the perspective of a parent, especially if you're a parent that is divorced, and you're a parent who is divorced, but your children are adults, and you're looking at that other spouse actively participate in things that are going to cause damage in the lives of those adult children, whether it's a parent that is begging kids for money or trying to make the children feel like they owe them something, or the other parent is out there demonstrating behavior that is going to be embarrassing to the child. you know Parents who are out there telling lies and weaving stories and telling people things in and around the lives of that child that could actually disrupt the life of that child. you know as a parent, you're looking at this and you just cannot be you can't believe it. You're going to be in shock. You're going to be dumbfounded at the fact that a parent would do this, right? Because from my point of view, no matter what my relationship is with my children, love, hate, or indifferent, right? Or my child did something and made me so angry. We don't get along anymore, we don't talk anymore, we don't call each other anymore. That would be one thing, but it would be a completely different activity for me to then do things, say things, call up people, and participate in actually tearing them down, right? I mean, from my perspective, I can't even think of the thing that a child could do or say to me that would cause me to actively do things to mess up whatever they're doing in their life. Like, I can't think of that. I cannot think of what the kid could do that would make me so angry. If you make me that angry as a child, okay, and again, adult children, I'm not talking about babies. If you say something to me, if you're disrespectful to me as a parent, if you are just absolutely the type of child that you have become more of a thorn in my side than you are an edification of of my parenting, then at the very least, I will disappear from your life completely. You will not hear from me. I will not interject any conversation with you. I will be very limited on my interaction with you. The only time that we would have any need to participate in any interaction is if there is something you need, like a piece of paper, like if I called my mom and said I needed social security cards and she still had them. Other than that, if you, for example, and this was another thing, I would love to mention to you all, and I don't know how many of you are aware of an old movie that was called um, Imitation of Life. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that show. But the background of the story was there was a mother, she was African American, and she had a daughter that, like Megan, was very, very fair. And for all practical purposes, no one just looking at her could identify her as Black, African American. So she basically wanted to go through life as a white female, a young white woman. But her mother was visibly an African American and she was a maid. So, anyway, the story goes on. And if you all have time, I'm going to mention the title again, Imitation of Life. It's an older movie, but I think it's very entertaining and it is informative in how people looked at that situation. It's referred to as passing, right? So, in their lifestyle, myself perhaps being a little bit different from the movie, if my daughter, like Megan, if Megan was my daughter and she decided, well, I'm going to say I'm white and I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm Black and I don't want to see my parents ever again. Even if that was the case, and even if that is what you wanted to do, you would not get any argument from me if that is your choice as an adult. I would step into the background and the woodworks. You would not hear me calling you up. I would not be stopping by your house. I would not be sending letters to let people know that you really are Black or any of. I would disappear from your life, and I would simply not create any struggle. But that is my perspective. That no matter what it is that that kid is doing or has done, has said or hasn't said, if they have no relationship with me, then I would be very sad. I would be very upset. But you would not see me on television talking about it. Okay. But anyway, that's the Markle situation. But that being said, what was I talking about? Actually, I was basically stating that Byline is doing a lot of follow up on these types of stories. So that's what you all should dig into. And since you all let me just ramble on like that, I have to try to find where did I put my slides on this particular feature. So let's see if I can get those pulled up and we can talk about some other things. All right, all right. So I hope we are still here and we're still back where we need to be. So if you all have time, just drop in the comment how you might feel about that situation. If you were thinking that you were at odds with your family member, whether it's your parent or whether it's your sibling or whether it would be your child, do you feel that if you were at odds with your parent or the children, that you would also feel the need to participate in telling the world that they are or are not whatever it is they are trying to perpetrate? And I would love to know in the comments if you feel that you would want to do that. Would you actually expose your family member? If they're not doing anything harmful, I would say harmful, but if they have chosen to live apart from you or not communicate with you for whatever reason, whether they're pretending to be um, a different person or they're pretending to be of a different status level in the world, would you rat them out as a family member because you're angry? I don't know. Okay, so on this first slide, well, if you guys can view that photo, that is a photo of the young lady in coming up in November, mid-November, somewhere around the 15th or 16th. This wonderful young lady is going to be the actress in The Crown. That series is coming back on. I believe it's HBO, somewhere around the middle of November. And I believe her name is Elizabeth Debicki. I think that's how it's pronounced. This wonderful young lady is going to be playing the role of Diana. And so far, she was introduced in the last season. Very good job, I think. Very interesting in her movements and everything. Slightly exaggerated, but her movements and her demeanor puts really reminds me of Princess Diana. So, to many of those who are probably giving these talks on YouTube, those of us who are in the age bracket where we remember the marriage of Princess Diana and we remember some of the news articles in and around her life, um, she is definitely very reminiscent of the princess, at least in my opinion. So I hope that those of you who are watching The Crown maybe get an opportunity to see how they're going to put this together. And I do hope that they don't do a poor job. Um, it's very easy for these studios to go in a direction that can create a nightmare for how the film would have been perceived. And so I am hoping that they try to stay straight down the middle um, in their presentation. Basically, at this time in the world, we know what we know, and we know the information that we do not have. And at this point, both the man that she was with at the time, I believe his name was Dodi Fayed, and that man's father, who would both have a lot of information about their relationship, he has also passed away. He was plus 80 himself. So I hope those of you who are interested get an opportunity to see this show. That would be great. Okay, so moving on to I'm sorry about some of these photos are a little bit blurry. I need to do a better job getting them clear. Um, this was one of the big features of this week is the fact that King Charles III and his bride, Queen Camilla, had an opportunity to travel to Kenya because, as the UK monarch, as the British monarch of the past British Empire, the king has decided that he would travel abroad to many of the Commonwealth countries. Well, it's pretty apparent that if they travel and if they try to hit the Commonwealth countries, there are quite a few of them. And it is pretty apparent through this visit that that might be very taxing on the two of them. I mean, I think of it for myself, traveling, even now for me, I still enjoy it. But when you're traveling, you get tired. Instead of wanting to or my favorite, instead of traveling to the great sites and wanting to climb the stairs of the Great Wall of China, I'm getting to that age where I am perfectly happy sitting on a bus at the bottom of the hill, right? And I am certain that King Charles and Queen Camilla probably feel the same. So, unlike this photo where everyone looks a tad bit cheerful and she's meeting the ladies who are all in and around, or the consorts of the queen and all of these different representatives at their high level. And these ladies are decked out in their African finery. So she looks a little bit cheerful here, but I want you all to know, and everyone has been having fun with the photo where she appears to be miserable and she's sitting in a car. And that photo is everywhere, so I didn't put it in my group because she looked absolutely horrified. Either she was taken off guard by the cameramen themselves, or she was just like in the car rubbing her feet, one or the other. But at least here she looks a tad bit more cheerful. But it does not change the fact that these long trips, they're hard on the young. They're hard on the people who are very, very active. And so, these people who are 70 plus, I'm sure this is a challenge. Even if they're taking their trip in absolute comfort. Also, we had For example, our president, who took that quick trip to Israel, and he was going to meet with the uh, Arab representatives, and they canceled on him. Um, I'm sorry, I keep saying that a lot. I need to stop doing that. Our president here in the US made that trip. That man is plus 80. And he made that trip to the Middle East to meet with Arab leadership. And because of the continued bombing campaign, they canceled on him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, they can pretty much hang it up that he will go back. I doubt very seriously if our the president of the United States, not this president anyway, I doubt very, very seriously if they will have an opportunity to have had that gentleman fly all the way across, halfway across the globe to meet with them. That probably will not happen again because that was a great undertaking. So anyway, that being said, that's what I wanted to point out about the trip that they took to Kenya. So it's been advertised a bit. Now, although people considered her movements and her interactivity a tad bit difficult and stiff and on, and they're all reminded of the original queen QE2. They are they are reminded of her interaction and travels to all of the Commonwealth countries, and the fact that it has to be remembered that QE2, Queen Elizabeth II, even as a young girl in her 20s, they spent a huge amount of their time living in Africa. They were in Africa quite a bit. And so, after many of the African nations started to break away from the British colonial rule per actually on paper, and gaining their own what was viewed as independence, although many of these countries still maintain their relationships with the British because the British had provided a certain type of structure in their continent, a certain type of, I don't want to call it Western style lifestyle, but something to that effect. So many of the African nations and the people who did come to power after many of these brutal wars, they still maintained a relationship with the British Empire. And thus, um, that is why the Commonwealth monarchs generally make an appearance in and around these continents because it is definitely a plus for them. Do not be fooled, do not be misunderstood that the British monarchy and the British, what I would call financial base, is heavily, heavily, heavily entrenched in Africa. Without Africa, there is little wealth in the UK. Africa is the key resource, at least at this time. It is a key resource for the UK. And so all of these British monarchs definitely try to keep and maintain, even if it's a lukewarm relationship, they intend to maintain that, right? So as you see, here's Queen Elizabeth II, and I believe she's there with the president. I believe he was the president of Ghana. So this was probably in the 1960s, after they had gained their independence, but they basically became a republic. So their form of government was very similar to that in the United States. And so she was making these trips as well. So if it was the 60s, that what would that have made her? She lived to be what, 90, something like that. So she was probably 40, 50 in this photo. And so she was still very what do you call it? Very vibrant on the trip. And on one of these trips, it was a very important, she made a very important gesture at one instance by actually dancing with one of the members of the African presidency. So that is very important. But yes, Currently, though, currently for King Charles, this trip might be a little bit taxing. I mean, it's probably going to take a little bit out of him, even if he's enjoying the trip itself, you know. So there's a lot going on, and reviewing the troops and marching out on all of these carpets and participating in all of these events, it's going to be a lot. So there you have it. And we are looking forward to seeing if there is a final report. A lot of people were hoping for and expecting him to perhaps make some sort of grand gesture. And there was a lot of talk about whether or not he would apologize for the British monarchs or the British Empire's colonial abduction of all these African countries. And I'm going to just say this for my record. I'm going to make this statement, and I am hoping that those of you who hear this statement have an opportunity to evaluate it. These elements in our world that you are looking at, these former colonizers, or these former empire builders, or as in the US, this gigantic defense machine or military might. I believe many people around the world have a real misconception, a misunderstanding of how our Westerners utilize language and how important certain words are in the English language. And of course, you'd have to look at you'd have to review some of my wonderful chats from October to understand where I'm coming from. But in our civilization, whether it's based on democracy or being a republic or all of those things, those high level thoughts that are supposed to indicate we have a level of freedom and understanding of living with our fellow man and getting along, all of those things, you have to understand that there is a thread that runs through our language. And that thread that runs through our language is one of control, right? It is one of being an abject controller of this environment. So words like sorry, apologize, wish we could undo this thing, or this total abjective regret and giving you an apology and trying to make it right and make amends. These words, in general, in the Western civilization of rulers, will not be used. So, expecting the monarchs and those who are in power and those who have crushed nations to stand in front of a microphone and say the words, I am sorry, please forgive us, I can probably bet you 90% to 10% that you will never see that happen from the Western ruling monarchs or from the Western ruling governments, because that language would be the language of defeat in our world. So again, you might want to review some of the you may want to review some of the subtle things I was trying to tell you last month. That one of the things about rulership and being a king or having defeated your enemies and crushed them. Remember, they use these terms. The Western powers use these words, that we will crush our enemies, we will defeat our enemies, we will subjugate those underneath us. And from the monarch's perspective, they will rule. Okay, that language does not allow apology, because everything that they do is the right thing to do. And it doesn't matter what the outcome is. And I think that's something that a lot of people in all around the world, and even people who live in and among these people, may not quite grasp. But they tell you this. They say the interesting thing is they say this to you, to your face. They explain it to you, but people do not believe it. They tell you, for example, the king, he is sovereign. Okay, look it up. Right? It doesn't mean, that word does not mean I'm going to apologize because I made you feel bad. That's not what sovereign means, right? So please get a real understanding of what our language means, right? Understand also that those who rule, okay, that's another word. Look it up. Those who are in power, look it up. It means that they control everything that you think, see, and believe, because he is sovereign. So it's not likely that from that point of view, there will come some type of contrition, right? Now, they will placate you with words that are near and close. They will placate you with, oh, it was a dark time in those days. Oh, and, people, many people suffered needlessly. Oh, yeah, they'll say stuff like that. But the word apology, you are not likely to hear it, because from their world, from their perspective, they've done nothing wrong. They have done nothing incorrect, because they are sovereign. So that being said, please try to grasp this. And it isn't until, and here, this is the beauty of this environment that we are in. It is not until you remove them from power that you could possibly have anything move in the direction you want it to move, because that is how they live, right? I mean, even in their own world, kings would kill other kings because they would then rule the kingdom. Wars are fought to be in charge of your kingdom. And I mean, we're watching it in the news, we watch it play out every year. There is some area somewhere that will be militarily defeated. Again, the word defeated. And thus, they will be ruled by an incoming power. So we have to let go a little bit of our imagination of what we think something means, and kind of grasp the reality of what the folks are actually saying to you, right? And they are not going to give power up. In their world, the only way that you gain power, you must take it. And if you don't take it, then you have no power. Okay? So that's being a king 101. How to be a king. Okay, now back to our fine family. Okay, but in the meantime, Also, this week, our wonderful Sussex family, they looked like they were doing some things just to take some time off and get some rest in. We actually saw them strolling about and preparing for the wonderful little activity called Halloween festivities. So we hope they enjoyed that. Basically, they've kind of relaxed a little bit, and I am looking forward to them getting a little bit of time off. In the meantime, I'm sure everyone else around the world will continue to try to be them and try to look like them and try to copy them as much as they can. And it's only 50% of the world that could possibly be fooled by that. All right. That's only 50%. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up a little bit pretty quickly here, but I wanted to, you guys, please forgive me. I was trying to do this slide. I don't understand what was happening. Listen, also, quick break before I go. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Tell all your friends I want to grow my channel, and I've got to look at all of the little tips and tricks to get it to grow a little bit. I need more people listening in on this Saturday morning. Also, if you have a thought about a date or a time that might be better, let me know. I mean, if you prefer it, then I might try to add another chat in and see if I can do it at that time. But I was thinking Saturday morning was a good time. People were relaxing or getting ready to head out for the walks or drink their coffees. So that's why I picked Saturday morning. But anyway, if you have other ideas, other tips, let me know. And we will get to that. So again, like, share, and subscribe. I would love to hear from you. It is great when you get a little bit of feedback, and I'll try to get to everyone as much as I can. I will try to anyway. I will try to do my best. So if you have an opportunity to like, share, and subscribe, please do. It is fun. And comment. And don't forget also, hit the like button, right? Don't forget to drop that thumbs up because that is, I don't know if you want to call it algorithmic. It lets YouTube know that, maybe some people want to see this. Okay. So always let YouTube know that you're interested in watching. All right, so here's my slide. I'm gonna hopefully this is my last slide. I'm not sure, but I wanted to let you know. Now, I told you guys I always look at things also from another perspective as well. I give it an opportunity to say, hey, let's think about things just a little bit differently, or rather, think about things from I don't know. If you I'm not trying to preach to you folks, okay? But it's always fun for me to find references that are biblical in nature that have a little bit of insight sometimes on what you are seeing and hearing throughout the world. I just find that fun. I know some people don't, but hey, I wanted to tell you this. So, when you think about the behavior of people in the world today, and especially as I had mentioned in this particular segment, that with Harry and Meghan, it looks like the entire world is set against them, right? Everywhere they go, they send out minions to have conversation about what is wrong with what they're doing. Everywhere they go, it's something wrong with where are going. It's something wrong with how they are dressed. It's something to be picked apart about why they are doing what they're doing. And of course, the UK media, their talking heads are filled with why are they whining? Why are they whinging? They love to use this term, whinging. I guess that's a UK term simply because he has red hair, I'm assuming. So they use the term whinge. They use the term whine. They love to see Harry and Meghan being made fun of. They love the opportunity to see them be, as they put it, brought down. The UK media has an entire industry dedicated to being angry at Harry and Meghan and saying that Harry and Meghan did something. to the royal family. They love to put out there how Harry and Meghan destroyed, these are the words they use, attacked. They use that term. And see, these again, these are terms in the world of people who are trying to be in power. They don't want you to come in their world with any type of power. So Harry and Meghan had to be neutralized, right? Because they appeared to have people power. So that's what was happening. So as we are looking at these actions that are going on from the UK media, from the royal family, in this slide, and I don't know if you can read it, I hope you can, but listen, follow along with me and go with me in my thought process. All right. Who acts like this? When you think of a source of behavior like this one, when you think of people who conduct themselves the way the UK media has, the way the royal family has, the way even King Charles is operating in relationship to Harry and Meghan, right? When you think of their behavior, who acts like this? Or Thomas Markle, or Samantha Markle, right? You know, these behaviors and these characteristics, they are generally familiar. People who act like this. So let's look at a couple of people who act like this, or rather, let's go to one very key entertaining source of someone who acts like this. And let's talk about that. So if you notice on my slide, one of the number one things is proud. Who acts like this? Well, in my first sentence, it says, Satan is described as being proud. Okay? And I'll let you continue on with that wonderful thought. But, you know, it's also a characteristic of Satan. And if you notice, for those of you who are Bible readers and you love to do Bible study, roam down through 1 Timothy and then get a chance to read about it. So let's see, what else would be their character? Well, the character is also fierce and cruel. Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting that that would be one of their characters? You know, because he did say himself, when asked, where have you been and what are you doing? He said, well, I've been going to and fro, in and out, up and down, or whatever, looking for those to devour. All right. Now, I think any of you who are interested in what might have brought that storyline on, again, if you've got some time on your hands or if you're a Bible studier, just drift on through 1 Peter and check that out. Here's something else, and you can't really push this aside. Satan was also powerful. He wasn't presented as someone who didn't have certain abilities, powers, and, running things. So the devil is a very powerful being. Keep that in mind, right? You can read the rest of this slide if it's clear to you. I don't know if it is. I'm having difficulty because it's very thin. But basically, it's talking about how he is disciplined and that he was always in and around people trying to create distraction. Like he even approached the archangel Michael. He even supposedly, or a characterization is that the devil even approached Moses, right? God's right hand man. So again, in biblical text, when you got nothing to do, drift on through some of the Bible texts, especially in the Old Testament, and just kind of get a peer of some of these conversations that the devil supposedly had. And then I'll kind of wrap it up here because again my slide is pretty bad. Um, Another thing that he is mentioned to be is deceitful. He is mentioned to be filled with the ability to make you think something or make you believe something that is in fact not true. So I just wanted to drop this little slide up, even though I was struggling with getting the numbers in the right place and stuff. I just wanted to drop this little tidbit out there for you because now we're moving into November, and I'm going to just take you through a few little intermediate Bible thoughts, if you're interested, that there are characters that have been discussed throughout history who act like this, right? When you feel that the world has turned against you, just understand that all of the things that you see in people, all of the types of behaviors that you might be experiencing with others, that there was someone already who acted like this. So that might also give you some insight as to whether or not they're going to turn over a new leaf or become better people or start to treat someone well or apologize. I wouldn't expect it, except there was some overreaching, unbelievable change or event that would make it happen. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, with that, all of the All for Success crowd, with that, I want to say to all of those who might be squatties, who might want to be squatties, all of us who are moms of adult children, with that, I want to say I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, but I want you to keep these things in mind. And hopefully, I'll get my chats together and we'll have some more fun in the upcoming chats. So, listen, everyone, get out there, get your exercise in, get your steps in. Please drop a comment below. I love to read some of your thoughts and some of your insights. And please hit the like button because that makes me very happy. Okay. And I will continue to try to do better and better in my chats. So just keep that in mind. We're going to go on and get started for the day. Get your steps in, get your walk on, and eat well, sleep well. And then we're going to stand by. And during the middle of this month, we're going to get started on the crown. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you.